Hey, what's going on, everyone, and welcome to the Deceptilab, and welcome to the weekly live stream. And today I got, of course, y'all saw the thumbnail. Of course, we're going to be talking about Dino King and Raiden, the new combiners that are going to be going into the event this week. And honestly, with as many questions as I had this week, that's probably going to take up the bulk of my time. I do got one tactic that I use with a new piece of content that I want to go over this week, but I want to leave as much time as I can from. I want to leave as much time as I can to talk about the combiners, man. I've been getting a lot of questions over that, so I'm gonna make sure we use our time wisely in that regard. But I mean, even right now, I'm looking in the chat and people are like, "Hey, how are the combiners looking?" So, but anyway, before we talk about any of that, let's go ahead and look at this week's newsletter. And I actually got it scrolled down some, so give me a second. All right, so this week's event is not the Yesterday War. That's ironic. That's actually last week's event. I believe it's called Prime Candidate. Um, so it's actually week 2 of this part of the saga, this particular season. And yeah, so we've got uh the weekend event is gonna be a 1 million point alliance totalizer. Mayhem mode is activated, and so um overall it's not gonna be too labor intensive. I'll talk about that in a little bit because I got a lot I want to say about the event, particularly based off of the questions that I got this week. It was a lot of questions just about, well, why are we doing this? And I said, I even know my good friend Chris Harmon. He and I were talking about it shortly before stream, maybe about an hour ago. I explained what I thought, so I'm going to explain that to you guys as well. See what you think. But we'll come back to that. So as far as this week's event goes, we have all 6 parts that you need for the 3-star Raiden or Dino King combiner, which honestly that's the part that a lot of us been in the community have been upset about. That it's like, well, why are we just giving it up the 3-star this time? I'll talk about that. Um, but to give you a good jump start, they're giving you 750k of your combiner spark. They're also giving you 50 of your ore 13. So if you want to go use them for about an hour, 50 minutes, because now we get the 25-minute timer, then you'll be able to do that with your 50 or 13. I was actually surprised to see this 1.5k 5-star shards definitely will come in handy, along with 3,000 4-star shards, 5,000 of your 3-star shards, 50k of your premium shards, and 15 of your MK4 battle boosters. Now, I know a lot of complaints were going out about not having enough battle boosters just readily available, and so now they're giving you 15 in this event, so pretty cool. I like the price charts. Let me take a look at it again. But yeah, I like the price charts on this one. I'm definitely pleased about that. So there goes your normal battle zones. As I stated earlier, this is supposed to be going in mayhem mode. Uh, they should start adding a chart for that too onto the newsletter. Like when it's mayhem mode, just use the mayhem mode template. But as you know, mayhem mode, they give you the option to go normal mode. I mean, you still wind up getting some mayhem points, but it's just not as much. So, um, overall, it should be if you use mayhem mode, ooh, it should be a good event. And let me check the chat because every time I keep coming on here to go over the newsletter, were you guys able to hear me okay? Because it's on my end, it's showing that I wasn't saying anything for the second week in a row. I need to start checking that ahead of time when I switch to the newsletter. I already see a couple of people excited about Dino King coming, and of course Raiden. But I say, um, But yeah, I said I know Big Blade's excited. He had asked me about it yesterday, and I wasn't trying to be rude, but I got a lot of people asking me those same questions, and I was like, "Look, watch the stream first. If you got questions after that, then I'll start talking about it more." So that's how it always used. See, it's the same thing that happened last week. Everybody was like, they heard me fine, but on my end of the screen, it's showing that I wasn't saying anything. So cool. I won't repeat myself then. So there goes the artwork for Raiden and Dino King. Both pretty cool. I called this one about even, and like, if you guys seen me before, usually, if you seen my stream before, usually was when with skins. Usually the Autobots have better skins, but it's a decent amount of the time. I think they got like the better design, visually. But I think these are pretty even. So good job with the artwork. All right, so there go the abilities. I'm not gonna read that off of the newsletter. Obviously, we got plenty of time today to talk about those, each one individually. Um, but I will say, so a lot of people been asking me what do I think about it. Now, I'll be honest with you, I've not had much time to test the changes that they did today. I was talking to Dale earlier, well, honestly, right before the stream started, and he wanted me to let you guys know he's going to try to push to get some reflection on one of these abilities. I'm assuming the one with the shield. And so we'll see how that goes. Um, but with the new changes today, this will really be my first time trying it out. Well, I mean, I tried it for a couple minutes earlier today, but not enough to make any true conclusions. I played with it a lot last night, and I was actually working a lot with my fellow playtesters last night. Um, Primarily because it's supposed to be set up for defense. Like, I don't know if they mentioned that in the newsletter or if I passed it, but this is supposed to be a defensive combiner in playtest that became kind of a point of contention. Um, I'm going to get into it. I'm going to get into it when I go into the actual content. We'll get to the newsletter first. All right, so here we go. The saga, the saga from hell. Right. This has been a bizarre. I mentioned it last week. I think Sunstreaker was actually mentioned it on his stream as well. I know he had a video about uh, just how difficult this particular saga has been with so many changes and stuff like that. But here we are. It's technically, yeah, they added a week. It looks like because of probably because of the Thanksgiving holiday in the United States, which will be next weekend. Which, by the way, I will not be streaming next week. If I can get around to it, I might try to make another video. But obviously, yeah, I'll be Thanksgiving Eve, so next week I'll actually be back home in Virginia. Um, preparing food this time next week. So. Um, that's what I'll be doing. So it won't be a stream next week, but we're going to continue on with Wednesdays, like I said we would. And yeah, but looking at the schedule, so this is a 1 mil event, Mayhem for the new combiner 3-star version, and then we got what'll probably be an easy Thanksgiving event. And so the event that got added is they added one for Prime Core Shards. This should be looks like that's supposed to be 50k individual totalizer, hopefully mayhem, and we'll see how that goes. And then we got the endurance spots coming, and it looks like December 13th, 15th. I did not have any information on those yet. Haven't gotten them in playtest or anything like that, so hopefully that will be coming soon. Make sure to check out all of your content creators, your official ones, myself, and of course Soldier and Sunstreaker Waza, two of the GOAT content creators in Transformers Earth Wars. But make sure you check out all of your unofficial content creators as well, because there's a lot of guys out there making some really, really good content. And if you are in the chat, feel free to leave the links to your channel so people can check you guys out as well. All right, so the questions that I don't ask, or don't answer, excuse me, make sure you ask them. There should be a Space Ape team stream. There is one scheduled for tomorrow afternoon. So you can check them out. Different avenues looking at that. Um, on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, stuff like that. And then after that, Centrica Waza should be on tomorrow as well. So you got a couple different ways to get all the information after you watch here tonight. And that's the news we got for the day. So let's go and check out the chat. Let me take that down. I know everybody excited, but I ain't ready to show them yet. And we'll take a look at the chat real quick. So let's see. All right, let me pull it back up. I just had it up on the screen. All right, so good friend and one of my members, Daddy Pig, was in the chat first. Thank you for joining, Daddy Pig. And along with, as I already mentioned, good friend of mine, Chris Harmon, one of my moderators, and uh, one of my earliest members. Thanks for joining, Chris. And Chris already, and we already talked about this briefly, but Chris already said that um, I'm sorry, but the eights screwed the pooch on this event. Just my opinion. And we did have a conversation earlier. I gave him my rationale behind it. Um, and he disagrees with it, and ultimately that's okay. I strongly encourage people to disagree if you got good reasons in the chat. As a matter of fact, all of you guys is watching, let me know in the chat, what do you think about this week's event? And I think the biggest thing is that most people are upset that it's only a 3-star version. I've got my thoughts. After we do our shout outs, I'll talk about my thoughts on it. All right, we got Lou Mega with us again, as well as Shockbomb28. Welcome, guys. E Rod's with us again and says good to be back. For me to be back on Wednesday. Yeah, it's good. It feels better, man. It feels natural to be on Wednesday. It's hump day for work and stuff like that. I definitely had a rough work day. Um, so it's cool to unwind, talk to some of your friends, talk some Transformers. So, but definitely thank you for joining. And speaking of which, I was just telling Jackson Bass, he was like, he finally get to make it to one of these. Been a while since he's been here, but welcome back, buddy. Yeah, that me being off schedule probably screwed a lot of people up. There were some people who were able to join more frequently because of my schedule, but the majority do good with Wednesday afternoon, so Wednesday evening. So definitely glad to be back. Good friend and fellow play tester and one of my members, Jakata, is in the chat. So be sure if I don't cover something, be sure to ask him questions too, man, because like he's the guy that keeps me in line when I go mess things up. So shout out to Jakata for all he does for the community, and thanks for joining. Cod King is in the chat again with us. Thank you for joining, Cod King. And we got RG with us again. Thanks for joining, RG. Jamie Carpenter's in here, one of my members, and and apparently Jamie Carpenter just joined my alliance family. He's in DJD right now. Welcome to the family, bro. Yeah, and the MF has joined us again, and yes, the combiners are being added this week. We'll talk about it. Autobot Phil is with us again. Thanks for joining us. Another one of my good friends, Horde teammate, Jason Guns, is in the chat. Thanks for joining, Jason. And we got Aaron DeHaze, who's El Dago Gamboa. Looks like he was in there spamming the chat a little bit. But thanks for joining, I think. Let's see. Andrew Stevenson's with us again. Thanks for joining. As I mentioned earlier, my good homie Big Blade, one of my moderators, good friends, is excited about seeing Dino King. So thanks for joining. Ridiculous Robot is with us. Thanks for joining. And let's see, David Lee is with us again. Thanks for joining. And he says that I have a feeling these are supposed to be God Neptune and Ruination counters. To a point, and we'll talk about that when we start talking about the abilities. It's not going to be like a hard counter, but there is one part of the ability to, if you guys saw the newsletter, it's one part of the ability that does kind of impact Ruination. So we'll talk about that. Let's see. That's everybody doing my audio check for me. Appreciate that. All right, let's see. So we got Dark Terror in here, one of my good friends, content creator buddies as well, and one of my moderators. Thanks for joining, Terror. We got a Mega Core 93 in here as well, and making a really good point. He's saying that they unlock in the store later on, so that's a good point. You know, you will have the opportunity. The problem with that is, and this has been a point of contention for me, and I've been in a lot of arguments about this stuff um, over the course of the week, but I don't mind an exclusivity period. I think if you complete the event, in this case, you're not really paying anything, but I think if you complete the event, especially a paid event, exclusivity is fine. I think that I want to know when the unlock is going to be because I think that sometimes we wait for these unlocks way too long. By the time they go and make the 4-star version, they should be unlocking the 3-star version for everybody else to start playing catch up, in my opinion. So, um, I actually got into a debate earlier this week because the conversation we were having was, well, they said it's coming out next year, and I was like, okay. It's at this point it was 2 days ago, so it's like November 18th, bro. Now it's November 20th, and I'm just like, next year could be 6 weeks from now, bro. Like, why are we getting upset, but to that point, it's a lot of guys up here that, we just start to look at everything with a negative lens. There've been a lot of mistakes over the course of the year. It's been a lot of good things over the course of the year too. So I try to keep focus on both. So that's where we're kind of at. Hopefully the unlock in the store is not too far down the road, and we'll see what happens. All right, we got King Zoro 0360. Thanks for joining and ask when the Combiner release. The Combiner release is going to be in this weekend's event on Friday. Another one of my good friends and Alliance family mates, Candyman. Thanks for joining. And we got Sonic Osborne who's with us. Thanks for joining. Okay, so, and I think I got everyone. If not, give me a tag in the chat. And I want to start off with a comment that my good friend and playtest buddy Jacada had in the chat. And he says, in my opinion, Space Ape has 62 days to bring out the 4-star version before I'll be actually upset about them only releasing the 3-star right now. And so that's it. And I know where you're getting at, it's like bringing out the beginning of next year. It honestly depends on when they do the event for the 4-star. Now, I know that you personally have heard my take on all of this stuff because I know Jacada and I talk a lot. And one of the things that I was looking at was just how things usually go. Yeah, they go accept the dog again. Hopefully somebody in my house go grab him real quick. But I was kind of just looking at how things usually go with these combiners, and one of the things that I was looking at was it's a lot of different things. Now, let me go ahead and get the artwork on the screen while we talk about this, because I know everybody at least wants to see that. But so this is Dino King. I finally can show him off because we had a point in time where the artwork was only there for Raiden. It was really annoying, and yeah, I didn't like that at all. So we finally got a Dino King artwork, and like I said, he looks pretty good, man. He really does. Michael Cooper says Decepticon dog attack. Big Joe joined the chat. Thanks for joining, Big Joe. And we just really getting started, so welcome. All right, the transformation screen's jacked. But But yeah, overall, looking pretty good. Yeah, he's looks pretty good, man. So definitely looking good in that regard. Now the problem that a lot of people are having is a lot of the problem that people are having is so this event we are only getting the 3 star. So that means these first two, the 2 star and the 3 star abilities are going to be the abilities we have. Now in playtest, a lot of the conversation was, well, really a couple of different things. So the first thing is from the playtest set, the conversation I've been having with people this week is um, we were looking at how we want this guy to perform on offense. And a bigger problem about that is, like I said, this is supposed to be a defensive combiner. Now, part of the problem is because they wanted to be a defensive combiner, they made the cooldowns like outrageous to the point that most players will only be able to use the ability one time. And obviously, that's not good. You want to be able to use not necessarily just spam abilities, but be able to use them, the lower level abilities more than once. So that I understand. But I also wanted, if they said they wanted to be a defensive combiner, then I wanted to focus on defensive abilities more. And, honestly, I'm going to test out the newest version, but that I'm not sure if we accomplished that yet. Now, the good news is, in this particular case, we did move what was the 4 star ability down to the 3 star, and so that would, well, I'll show it in a minute, but we did move that ability to 3 star, and the cooldown is a little bit shorter, so it works out well. And honestly, out of what we have so far, I think that's going to be the best ability that we got in the game. So hey, my boy Soul jumped into the chat. Thanks for joining. Obviously one of the official content creators and one of my members and good friends. And he says he wishes he could show his and make content. Yeah, because so we went through a lot of different versions of a lot of different problems. Like the combiner wouldn't even work at first, and like I saw Soul in the chat earlier today. It's like, hey man, can I get mines? Dude, you got to take care of your content creators in this game, man. Especially one of the legendary ones like Soul, because he's gonna make a really awesome video once he gets the combiner and stuff like that. So looking forward to that, and hopefully they get you sorted tomorrow or tonight or whenever. So soon is what I mean. All right, so MF asks, is it only defense combiner? So it's not only a defense combiner, but the focus is supposed to be defense. So let's start looking at some of the abilities real quick. Y'all probably already saw them in the newsletter, but the first one we got is called Shell Master. This is the 2 star ability for Dino King, and I think they named it for Raiden. They named it Break Zone. And so what it's going to give you is give you an acid aura. It's going to have some damage reduction involved with it at 50%. And that'll last for 15 seconds. So I think they actually bumped that up because it was lower at first. But, when you do the damage reduction and stuff, some acids, so you should be able to run some anti-heal and stuff like that. Um, Overall, all right, man, cool. I felt like because of the acid and that I would use that more offensively, but it does have a damage reduction. I mean, damage reduction should be good. This is a rush style attack, and you're going to rush into combat, cover foes within proximity with, this is the level 25 version, so it's going to be 2790 DPS. It's going to do slowdown and for their move and attack speed by 60% for 10 seconds. So before we even do anything else, let's go ahead and take a look, see what that does on the battlefield. Yeah, so Big Blade says the cooldowns are disappointing. Um, I'll be honest with you now. I'm not gonna lie and jump up on my high horse. Like, I fought for the cooldowns a lot. Um, to be honest with you, I was kind of busy, but I tested it, but I was testing more at night when everybody wasn't necessarily on talking about the combiners. But I talked to Dale a little bit over the weekend. I talked to a lot of the playtesters, especially last night. Um, that's not one of the items that I was fighting for a lot. I obviously the timers. Now, the first iteration when they came out with the cooldowns, I did fight for that, but not gonna lie to you guys, like I fought for better cooldowns this go around. All right, so we are looking at this ability here. And I will say this has improved over the last couple of days because here we got a little bit of a front load. And I really like that acid. I'm thinking that that acid is going to be something that you can use in conjunction with your Titan to try to get some, you know, help with these healing clusters a little bit. Now, here you got a lot of defenses right there in one area, but you're able to use it a couple of times. It's a good 2-star ability, it looks like, at least looking at it here. Now, after I look at all the abilities, I will actually go try the some tougher bases. But yeah, acid damage. I'm gonna actually let that acid burn for a little bit and see how it does at the top of that base. But overall, 2-star ability, generic rush ability. I think they might have threw a little bit too much at it, with acid and slow down and all these other things. But it's a good ability. I think it's a good 2-star level ability. So we will take a look at that, and we'll go back into the lab and see now what the and the thing is, Dale was adjusting my beacon timer, but we didn't adjust the offensive one. So we got plenty of time to talk about this before I go put this stuff on defense. Because he got a 25-minute timer running, but I definitely got more than 25 minutes worth of stuff to talk about, so that's cool. But yeah, let me know what you think about the 2-star ability, Shell Master. Let me know in the chat what you think, and I'm gonna take a look and see what comments we get in the chat. Big Joe says he doesn't take 25 minutes to disassemble like Raiden. Big Blade says I'll never get used to the components like that. All right, so let's talk. Let's talk about that for a little bit. So, one of the big things, one of the big debates of this particular event, and I did not mean to scroll out of there. So, one of the major parts of this event, or debate points for this event, is why are we getting the 3-star? And one of the things that I started to think about when I started talking about us getting the 3-star, well, first off, it's like I compared this more to like when we got Overlord and Omega Supreme or something like that. Or, Jacada, we were talking, and he says he compares it more to like when you get a Titan. So obviously with Overlord, you got a 2-star part, So I was surprised how many historians we had in Transformers Earth Wars that started talking about that. But no, we're starting at the 3-star, not going with the 2-star. So with 3-star, you get the 2-star ability and the 3-star ability, right? All right, cool. So one of the things I was looking at is when you go get a combiner and you get them from events, ultimately that process works faster. Now, you are kind of at Space Ape's mercy because you got to wait until the event comes, and it might come at a good time, it might come at a bad time for you. At the end of the day, we do have mayhem mode now, so it should be easier. So even if unless you're on a cruise somewhere when you can't do it, which probably shouldn't be the case this time of year, um, and probably not going to be the case. Maybe it'll be the case like 2-3 months from now when they probably do the 4-star event, and that's just me speculating. I would anticipate it's going to be around 3 months, but all in all, that is going to be faster than it's going to be to go collect 6 pieces from 6 different batches, probably, because it'll probably, or 6 different endurance events or something like that. Ultimately, that's going to get us the content faster. And so for me, for that reason, I'm looking forward to it. Um, at least for that, I think it works faster because if we had to go do 6 different endurance events or something like that, like at a minimum, that's going to take you at least a year and a half. It's probably going to take you closer to 2 years because there's going to be some stuff that Hasbro wants to make, and it's just going to be a mess. So, but my key talking point for why we're doing a 3-star is when you look around the game. And last week I was talking about Supercell coming. I honestly think that Supercell might be sending some players our way. I don't know if they're advertising in other avenues and other games or something like that, but there's been an influx of new players coming into the game, and I believe Dale spoke on it. Um, I don't know if it was on one of the streams or if he was on when he was with his interview with Waza, but new players have been coming in, and if you don't believe me, new players have been. If you're an alliance lead, if you're a commander or officer in your alliance, you've probably seen a bunch of HQ4s, HQ6s, and stuff like that applying. That's usually a sign that there's a lot of new players and they're looking for a home. Um, sometimes they knock on the wrong alliance. We got HQ4s knocking on the door at the Horde and stuff like that. But um, yeah, that's a sign that they are new players coming into the game. And I say that because when you go make a 3-star combiner and you make it in an event that's a little bit, it's not a lot of labor in this event. Now, for the very, very new players, there'll be some labor, but hopefully they get some help. Even with mayhem mode, it's going to be arduous for a new player, but we can go in and help some of these newer players to the game, and we can easily, as a larger community, get a lot of people this 3-star. And that's important because when you got new players and you come in and you're looking in around and everybody's HQ18 and you're looking around and they got 5-star bots and they got 5-star combats and stuff like that, um, it's important to give them something that they have a combiner, right? So that's what I think it was. There's been signs all around when you started to see that they were doing $20 5-star combat bundles and $20 5-star bot bundles. That's for the new players, and all of us get to enjoy it. But that's for the new players. So the combiner to me, it makes sense to go do it as a 3-star, and then the other thing for me is I still think the combiner probably needs a little bit of work. I think that I think we should consider changing the 4-star ability some more. And like I said right before the stream, I started talking to Dale. We still might. So yeah. But I'd like to see Space Ape get ahead of some stuff. I think this was now. Don't get me wrong. The execution wasn't as good. Obviously this was supposed to be in week 2 of this saga. That didn't happen. But we also didn't work on it very much after that. We started working on it like the late last week, mid last week. So, all right. Chris Harmon says I disagree with. I'm not sure. Oh, okay. Looks like he disagrees with defensive combiner. Says we need more offensive combiner. More offensive combiners, not defensive. Yeah. The way that I'm looking at this is they might not necessarily be making more defense right now. If you got any of you guys that saw Waza's stream with Dale and his interview, if you watched the stream or if you watched the video, um, they don't necessarily need. They're not really trying to push defense hard right now. However, because this is only coming out as a 3-star, what you have the autonomy to do now is to make it a 4-star when defense needs a buff, or realistically, this it's supposed to be a 5-star, but I guess they took that off the table because we stopped testing 5-star stuff. But or maybe the 5-star comes later on. However that goes. But if you have this stuff worked out ahead of time, then that's something that you can use going forward. Um, for defense when it is time for defense to change. So right now might not be the time, but later on is. All right, MF says like, are they the only meant for defense, or do we have one already? So I mean, just like any bot that you get in the game, combiner that you get in the game, you're able to use it on offensive or defense. When you look at these abilities, and since I've been running my mouth for a couple minutes, I know people want to see the abilities. We'll talk about the second one. So this is your 3-star ability, and when you read the tooltip on it, I mean, these abilities, they're trying to make them so they're better suited for defense. Now, what happened is they started messing with the cooldowns. The cooldowns at first were outrageously long. They're better. Um, some people still believe there's room to be improved with them, but now, they made them better. Because people was like, hey, we want to use this thing on offense too. And with this cooldown temp, you can't, which I understand. But at the end of the day, it's supposed to be the goal. Like every time they make new content in Transformers Earth Wars and they bring it to playtest and they say, hey, this is our goal. We want to make something that does this. And sometimes they know how to accomplish that, sometimes they don't. They start to ask us, the players and playtesters who have a lot of experience with this stuff, well, what does it take to balance it to meet that goal? And so the goal for this one is for it to be something that'll be useful in the outpost. Now, this particular ability is called Dino Blaster. For the Autobot version for Raiden, they call it Bullet Train. And it says rapid fire a target, dealing 3,720 DPS. As I say, the numbers here are for the 4-star level 25. And it brings up a point that Jacada was talking about. Because we took this stuff up to, we were planning for a 4-star, we don't actually get to really say, we don't actually really get to see what the 3-star that we're going to be getting is doing. And that kind of sucks. Deceptidog again. But anyway, so you're gonna do that DPS for 4 seconds. Shots bounce to nearby targets up to 2 times with 20% damage reduction per bounce when assigned to defense. Now this is the cool part. Hold on a second, guys. Alright, so this is the cool part. So when assigned to defense, this ability deals 2 times damage towards bots, combats, and combiners. Now this is huge, but the problem that I'm going to see here is that the problem that you're going to see here is that the shot is for 4 seconds and they bounce to nearby targets with a damage reduction. All right, hold on, guys. Let me go in here and actually stop him from going crazy. Give me a second. All right, guys, I'm back. Thanks for being patient. But yeah. So when I look at this, I like that they've made something specifically, and honestly, like they made something in this case that was unique to defense. It's specifically catered to defense. And I think we should start doing that with all of the combiners. I think we should start giving them, hey, this is what it does on offense, and then give them a little extra flair for when you assign an ability to defense. Now, I would rather see it be like the 5-star ability, but then we sit at 4 stars for a long time. So maybe the 4-star ability could just be something that you just use on defense. And this was for a while the 4-star ability for that reason. But now this is what you're getting when you come in there. I think this is the one of the better abilities that they have for this bot. So with that, it increases by a further 4% up to 100% of basically a life steal. Or it increases as he takes damage, and it has a life steal. So the life steal, I mean, from what I've seen, it can do better. We'll look at defense here in a little bit, but let's try this out on offense, see how it does. All right, so we're going to the prime zone again. All right, so we're going to drop Dino King down here on the bottom of the pad. And so, like I said, this is a prime zone playtest, so it's a little bit weaker than regular prime zone. But you can see, yeah, it takes out a couple of things here. Now, we're looking at the cooldown time right now, and it's going to take a little bit. Now, obviously, I'd be using my different abilities. I'll use the one that I already used. Get some acid damage going. And so this one can actually be used a little bit on both sides. If I had him on defense, I would use it on defense, but overall, not too bad. And just because you get more damage on defense. So let me take a look in the chat, see what's going on there. All right, I see Jacada helping out some players with who's the good combiners. All right, Jacada says, for your information, the range of break zone shell mass has been matched to the range of Ruination's and got Neptune's God Sting. So yeah, I mean that's one of them things I'm pretty good with distances, so I kind of looked at it and you can tell that when I got to the back of that split load or that split base. So all right, Candyman says rather this way than having to get all the components through crystals. No way they were going to have 6 train bots as separate characters. And I see Supreme Rules joined us. Thanks for joining Supreme Rules. And Big Blade says the prize is worth reaping. And then you can save those 5-star shards and you can max Volcanicus. All right, now Andrew Stevenson says I'm making a lot of sense. Seen lots of HQ4s and through 10s. And unfortunately, his alliance only accepts HQ 18s. But yeah, no, it's a lot of new players coming to the game, and that's usually the sign when you start to see a bunch of HQ 4s through HQ 10s looking for homes. That's a sign that there's a lot of new players coming. Hopefully, we stay, and hopefully, we can incentivize them by stuff like these 5-star bundles and having a combiner and not be too far behind. So Daddy Pig says if this is a defensive combiner, seems a waste of time to focus so much on abilities since you can only pick one. Might as well have one ability that increases on star level. Yeah, and so to your point, that came up in playtest is having all these different abilities It kind of gives you um, jack of all trades, master and none a bit type vibes. So what I suggested, and let me go through my notes that I have in my phone because one of the things I was looking at, this is the suggestion that I made, and for defense, I wanted to see a bunch of different abilities that just did, each of them were strong defensively, but did different stuff. So for me, I actually want to see a shield that it popped out and could do one of two things or both. I wanted to see the shield ability do something like where it could destroy decoys, because a lot of people use like ugh, blot or rook to pop combiners. So it's like, hey, what if as soon as you did that, this shield popped up and it just destroyed your decoy? I thought that would be cool. Or if it could drop shields on your rush tanks, that could be pretty cool, and that would make something that people would really desire on defense. And I also started talking about, I like the damage dealt for the defensive ability for what's now the 3-star ability. Yesterday it was the 4-star ability, but now it's the three. Um, I like that. That's fun. Um, Want to see if you also address survivability, something, but and I'm gonna look at the ability again because I want you to see what I'm talking about. What I would have liked to have done is instead of, and I want to pull it up so you can see it while I'm talking about it. With Dino Blaster, what I would have liked to have seen is, so they're doing, oh, they actually did change that. That's cool. So what we had it yesterday is we had life steal was based on how much damage you receive. Now it's based on how much damage you deal. And so that was my call. That was one of the suggestions that I made yesterday, and a couple of people started to agree with it. And I said, "Cool, that's kind of what we need, is something like that, because you're giving them extra damage for hitting, outpost, and I mean not outpost, but for hitting attacking bots. And when you're on defense, that's all you can hit is other bots, other combats, other combiners. So that'll be a good little chunk with it having that boost. So I'm glad that change went in. I don't even think I'm not even sure if they talked about that today. Blade 19, one of my good friends and members, popped in, says to say hi and that he hates work. The last prime actually made a good point, and this is a talking point I had when I was talking to one of my friends the other day. When you have multiple abilities, and it kind of, to the point, you can kind of relay that back to Daddy Pig's comment. When you got different abilities, like now you're not necessarily sure what's going to be in the outpost. Now I know for me it's probably going to be the 3-star ability, but let's compare it to the 4-star ability. So the 4-star ability, Meteoric Rise, it says charge an enemy orb that explodes after 10 seconds. Once again, 3,720 damage, and it's going to increase by a further 0.2% every time Dino King takes damage up to 60%. Now, this is the alluring part. So they made another ability that has a different purpose when it's on defense. So while you're on defense, buildings take 60% less water damage for 30 seconds when Dino King deploys. Now, anytime I see take less water damage, we automatically are going to assume, hey, God Neptune Ruination, we're going to try to make, more, essentially passive counters for this ability right here, Tidal Wave, one of the better combiner abilities in the game. Just because it does so much, you can do more damage to stun targets. Um, you get a attack and defense reduction. This one, when they start talking about water, they're trying to counter that, and I think by this time most of us know that, and so it's just one of those things where that's kind of to be expected. That they made the build bots that are anti, reduce the damage from water attacks. I think we need to have more water bots in the game, but um, definitely our water combiner is pretty significant. It's strong. Alright, so this time we'll look at the 4-star ability. Alright, so there goes our 4-star ability. And the thing is, we're getting the same like base design type thing going here. And now we're getting to run them all together. So I'm thinking that this might be because I'm just running in prime zone. I actually want to use this on that shield generator because with that acid, kind of take out that shield generator because of the acid. And I see Big Blade saying 15 seconds isn't bad for a rush. Yeah, because if you want to combine it to its own abilities or something like that, yeah, cool. So I want to try it on a tougher base. We'll see how it does and under those circumstances, and to see if our opinion changes at all. All right, so let's see. I probably can fight my good friend, certainly. Shout out to the guys over at Canada East, one of my good friends, and I know he's got a base setup that's probably going to be. Ooh, I just ran out of time on there, and so I'm gonna come back to that because I do want to show it on defense, and I think Dale got me set up so that defensively that it is only gonna have a short timer, so I don't want to take away from showing offense on a better base. All right, so we can use Dino King here, get him in the outpost. Okay, so he gave me like a 2-minute timer on defense, so that'll work. So we can run a base trial and see how that does. Actually, did I give him an ability? I don't think it lets you put him into. Okay, so this is the ability we're going to be using. We're going to use a Dino Blaster. Just a reminder, when this is assigned to defense, 2 times damage to bots, combats, and combiners. It's got a life steal going. It's going to be based off of how much damage is dealt. So let's see. I'm actually pleasantly surprised they did it this way because like it was based on how much damage he took, but now it's based on how much damage he deals, and I think that's important. Just because you're giving them a multiplier for doing damage to bots, and when you're on defense, like I said, that's all you can really attack. So I'm just gonna drop bludgeon by himself, and just see how long it takes for him to get shredded. And that ability, that ability really took him out fast. Now, granted, he's got other stuff that's attacking him. But yeah, it hits him up. It hits him up pretty hard. All right, so Jacada says base trials are foobarred at the moment. Drop a bot first. Yeah, I wasn't going to use the combiner. I know that's messed up. Yeah, I think you were the one that told me that, honestly. All right, so this time I'm gonna use bludgeon again. That's Ironhide for you guys on the Autobot side, and what I'm gonna do is actually I can't even do that because I got FFD over there. Let me see. Let me see if I can get away from the FFD. Nah, I'm still in the line of FFD. But the thing is, I'm actually using the Forge of Solus Prime on this one, and it's still, it goes through the revive and everything. So I like that ability. Let me actually go in there and move my FFD out of the way because I want to see how that changes if I use Bludgeon Shield. Took it a little bit too far over. So we'll do that. We'll try it again. Alright, so one thing he said was use a decoy. Yeah, I can do that. I want to try the shielded bot first, just because a lot of people will use that, but I definitely want to try a decoy as well, because like I mentioned earlier, that's how people usually pop um, combiners and stuff like that. So now he's gonna be shielded. Ooh. And while he's shielded, man, that's still taking him down pretty fast with that ability. Like I said, that 3-star ability is kind of hard. So Candyman says his Nexus defensive core increases displayed damage. No, so the Nexus core on defense is for, it's supposed to be for whatever it's equipped to, but I'm not 100% convinced that that works properly. But it doesn't have any effect on the combiner. It has an effect on the defenses, to my understanding. Like I said, I've never actually thought that that worked properly. All right, so I got a request to run a decoy, so we will try it with a decoy. All right. So when we use this decoy to pop, let me actually stick him off to the side so I can make sure that he doesn't attack Blotter, he attacks the decoy. Yeah, no, it did some good damage on the decoy too. Now the problem is this. If you don't completely destroy a bot, like obviously the way that I'm setting this up, they're of course they're going to wind up destroying uh, bots really quickly. But when you actually try to go do this in a real battle, what I've noticed is a lot of times it might destroy one bot, but that might be all it destroys. So kind of one of those things to weigh when you are trying to use them on defense. But I do like that ability. I think that ability is great, especially as a 3-star ability. If there's ever a 5-star, you know, then excuse me, if it's ever a 5-star, you know, I'll, it's probably gonna be tough to beat. But now I'm gonna use the 4-star ability here, and just to go over that again, that 4-star ability. All right, so here we got some of the other stuff going on with the water damage. That's the primary thing that changes on defense, where you're gonna have that energy orb. With these shield abilities, unless they do a lot of protection for them, I'm not a huge fan. So I am glad. But the damage boost is cool. But I think a lot of people try to avoid those kind of like they would avoid that. They would use a hollow or a decoy. Um, so really the only cool thing here that I feel like is the water damage thing. So we'll try to actually look at that. So Omega Supreme Rule says Impressive defensively for a 3-star ability. Wondering how his DPS will be affected as a 3-star for now. Yeah, this was the 4-star ability at first, so I'm we moved it for the reasons of cooldown so it could be used on offense. But honestly, man, like it's tough. Damn, I wanted to use. I actually want to go in here and use God Neptune. I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna do it because I mean, my issue was I ain't want to sit up there and have to wait another 25 minutes up there to try to go use it um, against a harder base. But I'll probably talk about that again before the week is out. I do want to see how this affects God Neptune and his water ability. So let's take a look. Oh, Jacada just told me not to do that. See how I said that I need Jacada to keep me in line? He was just like, you got to use a bot first. Here I go trying to use a combiner first because it crashes the playtest server. All right, so here's me dropping my bot first. I'll drop Blot again. I'll even drop his decoy again. And then I'll come in there with God Neptune. So it should be after he spawns. Alright, well, that didn't do a lot of damage with his water ability. So it looks like that is working properly. Let me drop my team down there and see how that does. Mario Zombiano says it looks like Rise for the water resistance, so Bullet will be best on defense, but it's hard to know what he will use going in blind. And I think that's kind of the point. I think that, and it's kind of like Big Blade said earlier, he's a wild card. You know, if you look at him from that standpoint, there's a couple of different ways you can go about it. And if it's, you know, obviously if you're in a war, you know, you're going to be able to track down, hey, he's using this ability because you saw it on the replay. But otherwise, you know, going in, like you said, going in blind, who knows? Bro, and I just thought of something. If this bot is in the outpost, if he's in the outpost and during an event, like, and you're trying to solo a bot, he's totally going to destroy that bot. And that's wild. But he's doing quite a bit of damage. I've done, well, I guess I still got some FFD in the area, but you know, even with Flatline doing his healing and stuff, you know, might as well try the 2-star ability in there too, see if it's worth anything on defense, even though it doesn't have anything in particular that I don't think it had anything that was unique to defense on that side. David Lee says you might have to put it back as a 4-star ability. But he says, but of course they probably do that when the 4-star is released. You know, honestly, earlier today I wasn't really convinced that this is ready, but it's like I think it's just the unpredictability that might give it some value. But I was playing against some other other players that I know, playtesters that I know are top players and stuff. Um, and I'm not gonna lie to you, like the 3-star ability caught me the first time, and then it was, but you know, a lot of this stuff you're gonna be able to avoid just using good tactics. So um, I think that having this is this water damage thing. I think that's cool. I think that's gonna be. I think more people are gonna use that for your backloaded bases, and then they'll probably, maybe they have to use less of your water build bots. I think most people only use one anyway now. Maybe you use it in conjunction to try to reduce. One question that I didn't ask was, were those items gonna stack? And honestly, I probably missed it in the chat when they were talking about it. Yeah, and that's a good point that Jacada made. The sort of visual for that orb is not working now. You can see the explosion, but the visual for the orb is not working right now. And I forgot to mention that when I first started doing my test here on the stream. So now we are looking at that 2-star ability. Now keep in mind that's got the slow down and the acid, and so I'm actually going to use one of I was actually using the ability of flatline and it looks like some of those dudes were still healing, so I might want to take a better look at that. And it says Mario Zambiano says, give me a second. Mario Zambiano says, can you use the charge on defense or no value? The other two are nice, but there is a tactic where you can lock bots down and anti-heal them. Can you try? Uh, oh, okay. So yeah, that's what I was just doing. I'm not convinced that's working though. Man. But then Cicada says when it does explode, lots of things just die or explode. It's a bit of a WTF moment the first few times. All right. Well, I'm actually going to probably make a separate video of that. My dog's going crazy, and usually I got somebody in the house looking at him, but this was the exact second that everybody decided they were going to leave the house. So, um, yeah, it's getting really distracting. So, but yeah, he really is. David Lee's like he's really going off this stream. Yeah, usually somebody's in the living room with them, and they can kind of keep them calm. And I try to have at least one person in the house, just stay put, so y'all can keep up with them. So, um, but yeah, man, let me know if you didn't get the chance to say anything, or if I didn't respond to it in the chat. Let me know, um, in the comments of the video. What do you think about this combiner? I'm gonna keep playing around with it a little bit more. If anything new pops up, I'll let you know. But other than that, I won't see you guys next week because, like I said, next week's Thanksgiving. Um, but I'll see you definitely the week after that, and I'll probably make another video before the week is out. So I'll see you there, and I will see you on the battlefield. Freezius out.